on this computer. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Upskill Club season number 4, track number 1, HBR Guides, episode number 1. Today's topic is managing oneself. And during the course of next 40-45 minutes, we'll try to deep dive on the same. We'll look at the framework that authors have suggested. We'll go through the learnings by them. And at the core, you will realize it is more about knowing yourself before you manage yourself. Cool. So let me start with the notes. If you look at history, you name any of the great achievers. We will go one by one, and we'll try to name one of them. Abhijit, who is a great achiever according to you, in your mind? Dhoni, okay. Vikas?
Steve Jobs, Bill
Steve
Gates.
Jobs. एक ठीक है. For the gender diversity, Muskan, who is a great achiever according to you?
I admire Sudha Murthy a lot.
Sorry, कौन?
Sudha Murthy.
Okay, cool. So in history of great achievers, and these are some of the classical examples, which is Napoleon, Da Vinci, Rabindranath Tagore, Mozart, all have learned to manage themselves, and it is at the core of which makes them great achievers. Actually, yes, there are rare exceptions. I'll not say there are not rare exception. Like if I have to say, Zlatan Ibrahimovic gives the notion that he's not let's say disciplined, but at the core he is. And there are rare exceptions, but there are rare. But for people like you and me who have modest talent, to be honestly fair, we need to learn to manage ourselves in order to, let's say, do decent things in life. So first question that all of us need to ask ourselves is, what are our strengths? Take before I deep dive, we'll switch to the form and we'll currently fill it. Okay, so kindly switch to the form. The first question is, what are your strengths? Cool. You don't need to submit it now. Open it on your laptop. Just write whatever your answer is. Part 1 before the talk, and let's say you can add more points once you learn something new. So this is the question that you need to answer. We'll wait for a minute before we deep dive again. Cool. You everybody understand the format now? The question that you need to ask yourself is, what are your strengths?
Can you send the link again?
Okay, I have sent it in the chat. I've sent it in the chat. Okay. It's 11:15. We'll move forward. आप बढ़ते रहिएगा. So most people do think they know that what they're good at actually, and most often than not, they're usually wrong. Because most often people don't even realize what they are not good at. ये mistake करते हैं हम predominantly. ठीक है? And even though more people are wrong than right, then you can realize आपकी strength क्या है. अब यहाँ पर fundamental mistake that people do and organizations also do is try to index on your weakness. Even आपका खुद का operating model भी ऐसे ही रहेगा, correct? Even in your PR cycles or your communication cycles, weakness would have been highlighted the most, and we would have been asked to put the most amount of effort there, correct? Is that true for most of the people here? Is that true? But that should not be the case. That should not be the case, because one cannot build performance over weakness. And if you over index on it, you are bound to fail. Why? Take any line of work. Take any line of work. We are in coding, where let's say somebody can be in design, somebody can be simple hard work. If they continuously index on their strength, amount of energy it will take to improve your weakness will always be more than amount of energy it will take to further enhance your strength. ये समझ में आया सबको? नहीं. Let's say you have X amount of time and you have X amount of energy and you know your strength. And जैसे कि आपने अभी फॉर्म में भर दिया आप सब लोगों ने, ठीक है, and you know them, and that is, you know them. Amount of energy you need, and the energy is limited. If you spend that energy on optimizing on your strength, the output that you will get versus the energy that you will spend on optimizing for your weakness, you will always outperform when you over index on your strength. Okay? The easiest way, but now the question comes is how do we go about it? So what author suggests is to do fundamental analysis and feedback analysis. And the process is
Anupam, I have a question here. Whether engineer or not, everyone in their professional career wants that they uh, learn something that they are not good at. So, is it in contradicting that I know that if I am very good at, let's say,
luckily we'll come to
let's say an
that
example,
answer.
I know that I'm a very
Luckily, Pranav, that is the question
okay.
we'll answer during the course of the session. Okay, just wait for it for now. Okay.
Anupam, I think your voice is a little bit laggy.
My voice is
Uh,
laggy for
is
everybody.
it same for everyone? I think your voice is stucking a little bit.
Achha, can you please try to
Not
turn
for
off
me.
your video?
I think it's fine.
I guess internet broke down. Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Let's move ahead. So in order to understand your own strength, actually what all of us need to do is do a feedback analysis. And in order to do feedback analysis, it is very simple. What you need to do is whatever key decision or key action that you want to take, you need to write it down and simply reflect back on it after 9 or 12 months and compare your actual results from the expectation that you have set for yourself 9 or 12 months earlier. As simple as that. And this is not new, as author said. This technique was invented actually in 14th century by some German, and later it got streamlined and then say how do you say mainstream 150 later 150 years later, and it was part of the mainstream in West. Okay, and these guys John Calvin and Loyola were the guys who in a way propagated the feedback analysis to their followers. Key learning here is what we believe. We all of us believe we know our strength, but we actually don't, as I suggested. You would need actually a cycle of 2 or 3 years to do of doing feedback analysis to actually understand your strength. It will take you 3 years, at least 3 cycles to actually nail down what are your strengths. And if you practice consistently, very simple method, as I said earlier, write down the key results and action that you want to take, and just match expectation and results, and then deep dive. Cool. If we move forward, first and foremost, you learn your strengths, and then you need to concentrate on them. That is the first answer that you will get from the feedback analysis. Second, you need to create a system so that you can improve on your strengths. Okay, and that you need to improve on the strength. Third, this is where you'll develop some intellectual arrogance, and then you need to learn to overcome it. Example, this is the question that Pranav asked. For many two people, let's take an example of a web expert in our forum, who are very good at one technology, were very good at one focus area. They often take that other areas as okay, ठीक है, इस पे focus करने की जरूरत नहीं. ठीक है, example when there are very purest fundamentalist engineers, they take pride on not knowing how to deal people. यार मुझे लोगों से बात करना नहीं आता, I'm good at myself, correct? एंड सिमिलरली एचआर बोलते कि यार हम बहुत अच्छे लोगों को मैनेज करने पे वी डोंट नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ द बिजनेस वर्क. हम किसी भी जगह पे जाके पीपल मैनेज करके वैल्यू ऐड कर सकते हैं, करेक्ट? And this is very similar to what Pranav also asked. When you are personally at a personal level, you are also very good at one area, and you ignore your own area at a level. But the broader skill for a profession, you need to learn to let this arrogance, let's say, go away, and acquire the skills and knowledge to actually understand your full strength. So while you do feedback analysis for 3 or 4 years, you learn that I learned this was my focus area, these are my weakness. Create a system to overcome it, over index on your strength, and then if you try to overcome your weakness, then you learn that my strength थी भी कि नहीं थी. ठीक? So this is very simple framework to do feedback analysis. ठीक? Second question, now we'll switch to the form again, and we'll try to answer this. How do I work? So all of you guys need to switch to the form. Just add your entry of how do you work.
Context be.
Like, how
Question,
do
how do I work? That is the question that you need to, जो भी तुम्हारे दिमाग में आ रहा है उसका आंसर प्लीज इसको एंटर कर दीजिए. तुम्हें कैसे लगता है तुम
Work,
कैसे काम करते हो?
is it work or how do I contribute? Or how do I add value? Like,
नहीं, how do I contribute is later. How do I work? Simple question. Or simple question is how do I perform? उसका internal question is how do you perform actually. रेटिंग नहीं देनी खुद को, जो भी दिमाग में आ रहा है लिख दो. For now, dump whatever is in your mind. Let's do that. We'll not try to answer it. What are you able to interpret from these two questions? Just answer those. Take. We'll take a couple of minutes to do that. It's 23. We'll start at 25. It's 24. A minute to go. You need to simply answer what are you able to interpret from how do you work and how do you perform. रेटिंग नहीं देनी है. दिस इज जो भी आप इंटरप्रेट करते हो वो लिख दो, पहले क्वेश्चन के बारे में एंड देन अपने बारे में. Cool. It's 25. Let's move forward. So the underline जो इसमें interpretation आनी चाहिए थी, it was very few people know how do they themselves get shit done. All of us are different. We all work differently and perform differently. And various people suggest these are the certain ways for which works for everybody, but that is not the case. We need to understand ourselves first. Example, when you know your strength, how do you optimize it and how do you use it to actually get shit done matters. Okay, and it often is based upon your personality. I'll give a live example so to make it more reverse. Somebody in the audience, he works very well if he's able to get his, let's say, workout done in the evening. So his work is ki I'll have some certain time block that I need in the evening. I'll get everything done before that. That is how he works. Whenever that routine is changed, his performance will deteriorate no matter what. That is his way of operating. This is more about how do you operate when you know your strength. He knows his strength is I need to exercise so that I feel good. But in order to do that, I need to wrap up all my work before that. So I'll focus for 5 good hours in the afternoon. Okay, this is how he works. Okay, and it is based upon his personality. Cool. And now another question is, in order to do that, how do you work? You need to answer few things to yourself first before you even go about it. First question that I asked to you is, are you a reader or listener? ये personal है सबका. Are you a reader or listener? I don't think so. I have added that in the form. I have added. So please go here and just answer this question. Are you a reader or a listener? And think about it a little bit. Traditionally, we are all exposed to both form of learning. People give you textbooks like we do in Upskill Club also, and we have sessions, verbal sessions also. That is, people learn by listening because nobody knows actually are you a listener or a reader. That's why both form of consumption are created. So इस question पे जाइए and just answer are you a reader or listener for yourself and think through it a little bit कि क्यों बोल रहे हो आप. Pranav has a question. Pranav, please go ahead.
No, I don't have any question.
अच्छा, तो पिछली बार जो आपने पूछा था क्या वो आंसर हुआ था या नहीं हुआ था?
The question that I asked in this session,
Last session
right?
about are you a reader or listener?
Sorry, I don't remember. But I had said that I was a listener. Yeah.
ठीक है, तो I'll ask the audience also. Who knows for sure that he or she is a listener or a reader as of today? Okay, Risham, you are a reader or listener?
Reader. I've tried both. uh, Initially, I started with books, of course, as everybody else, with school and college. But I also tried a lot of podcasts and YouTube videos. But then I realized I always go back and find an article that states the same. Listening doesn't work for me. I need to go through the details. I feel the reason for that is that I have a control over where I want to go next. In a video or podcast, I go with the flow that they take. But while I'm reading, I can go to the index, jump to the next topic, etc. That is one of the reasons, but I'm much more comfortable with reading than with listening.
Okay. And sub part of the question which I am trying to imply here is, or do you do that also for your all your work learning also?
Yes, mostly.
Okay.
Mostly, yes.
So this is a person understanding her trait and over indexing on it. If you remember, we emphasized on that. Anybody else who knows that they are a listener, for sure? Safe answer is reading, but does anybody knows for sure that they are a listener?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
believe I am
I
a
am a
good
listener.
listener.
ठीक है, तो let's go to Muskan first. Muskan, why do you say so? Can you give us any one example which solidified your own case to yourself that you are a listener?
So for example, if I want to learn anything, I always prefer कि there's someone जो ऐसे बोल बोल के बता दे, and I have
that
to.
so that's why you're part of our skill club.
Yeah, but yeah, I try to do both, but my preferred mode is always listening.
Okay, and have you over indexed on it? Now the second question is,
Yeah, I always try to find a YouTube video on a topic which I want to learn. So
okay,
that's the
fair
first
enough. So
mode.
that is how you over index on it. Okay, I hope this question was simple. And then a sub part of this question is actually how do you learn? Once you only know are you a reader or listener, then only you can answer how do you learn. Okay, example, schools have created a system of where we are over indexed on reading or consuming information. Now this is a twist in the tail. Example that author gives is Winston Churchill, who was a famous prime minister for UK, did very poorly in his school, very poor. He was like laggard. He was not able to do well in his school. Predominantly, school created a system and across the world where your primary mode of learning is by consuming information. Correct? You need to read, you need to learn, you need to listen. But Winston Churchill, as a person, was a writer. He learned by writing, by formulating his thoughts. Okay, so this is second question that you need to answer yourself. Have I answered? This is the second question before we deep dive. This is the second question that you need to answer for yourself. How do you actually learn? First is how you consume information, correct? Second is how do you actually learn? So just try to answer for yourself. We'll take a minute here. It's 31. We'll start at I guess 33. Megangs, if you're in the call, only answer for yourself. Don't answer for Mrut.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. I guess you might have taken your time. So I just gave you example of how Winston Churchill predominantly indexed on learning by writing. There was another example of an executive who was given a chance to, let's say, this is a small business, you need to take it large, and he was able to do that. And he was able to do that by formulating his thought by communication. What he used to do is he used to call his colleagues for random meetings and just discuss things. And he created that environment because that is how he learned, by cross-checking his ideas and creating his opinion. He never wrote anything, he never read any book. Whatever idea in his mind, he used to bring in people ki, "Aa jao, let's come together and talk." And decision making was done by him also only. But he would wait for people to raise issues, he will wait for people to argue, he will wait for people to, let's say, give him 2 or 3 opinions, and that is how he created his way of learning. Take this is very important for you to understand. How do you actually learn? Learning is different from consuming information. Understand that. Let me reiterate it. Learning is different from how you consume information. You can consume information either by YouTube, books, yes. But does that sticks to your mind is very different. Some people prefer by applying those. Some people prefer by like me, people prefer it by communicating it to others. I learn by communicating it to others. That's why I host these sessions. Okay, that is my way of learning. Okay, so this will be very specific to you. So that's why that answer is important. Cool. Now the topic will get interesting and more difficult for you to answer. Okay. The question we all need to ask is, wherever you go, whatever you do, you would need to work with people. There's no doubt about it. And that's why an organization is also called as a company. Company is a group of people, correct? A club, like upskill club, is a group of people. Will always have other people to deal with. So in order to really know yourself well, you need to answer, do you work well with people, or you are alone? And if you work well with people, in what relationship? What do I mean by that is, some people are absolute goddamn very great at being subordinates. Example that a story that author tells is, there was a General George Patton. He was an American war hero. Yeah? And he was a very prime example. He was one of the top ट्रूप कमांडर्स कि यहाँ जाओ जाओ फोड़ा फाड़ी मचाओ, ऑर्डर मिल गया कर देता था एकदम टू द नेल. Cool. He was rated very high. And when his leader was asked, do you think he should be promoted as US Chief of Staff? US Chief of Staff is you deciding what happens outside the world, kahan war rage karni hai, kahan nahi karni. And he had a history of doing it very, very well for more than decades. His immediate supervisor says he will be the best subordinate in the American army has ever produced, but he would be the worst commander because he, as a person, didn't work well by taking lead decisions. He worked well by accepting decisions and executing it. That was his trait. Okay, so some people work very, very well as team members, other work very, very well as alone, and some exceptionally talented coaches एंड मेंटर्स जो होते हैं, जो एक्सेप्शनल टैलेंटेड कोचेस होते हैं, जो बड़ी बड़ी ऐसे पब्लिक सेमिनार्स कर लेते हैं या फिर बड़े बड़े मतलब जाके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के टॉप लीडरशिप पोजीशन हो जाते हैं, व्हेनेवर दे आर गिवन वन ऑन वन मेंटरशिप दे स्ट्रगल. See, and vice versa also. See, so you need to understand how you personally work with people. Okay, so this is the question that you need to answer first. How do you work? This is the question that you need to answer very quickly. I guess this will take hardly 30 seconds for you. And sub question that you need to answer is, do you produce results? Do you produce results currently or in general in life as a decision maker, somebody who takes the responsibility of failing and is okay doing that, or somebody who's an advisor or a support? You need to understand that also about yourself. ठीक, इसका मतलब क्या होता है? किसी को डाउट तो नहीं है इस क्वेश्चन में? रेशम, फ्रॉम योर फेस इट सीम लाइक द क्वेश्चन वाज नॉट क्लियर टू यू.
I think I do not have that one question in my form.
अच्छा, मैं पब्लिश नहीं हुआ है क्या?
No, I think you
Me
can
too.
reload. You can reload.
हाँ, अब हो गया होगा, देखिए.
बाकी आंसर्स चले जाएंगे ना रीलोड करके?
No, draft. It would have been saved as draft.
Okay.
ड्राफ्ट में रहेगा.
Yeah. Anupam, I had a question with this. That
Yes.
I just feel that there are certain things that are better if you do as a group, and there are certain things which you do better, you perform better as a loner. So
Correct.
how do you
Possible, but at a personal level, you will always outperform if you prefer working with people or if you prefer working alone. There will be always be tasks जो आपको juggle करने पड़ेंगे. This is called as juggling. You will be required to juggle between, let's say, being part of a team and then delivering something independently. But your own strength will lie in either one or two. It will not be both.
Okay.
It will not be both.
But can also depend on your experience as well, right? Or newly, मतलब is it a general one or is it related to work?
No, this is personal. It will be one. You will, as I said, you will realize this after you do feedback analysis for at least 4 years. It will take you 3 or 4 years to understand this, honestly. When you continuously do feedback analysis about yourself, and that is when these questions will actually get answered. These are not trivial questions. That's why you need to learn them and create a system to answer them for your own self. You will always be asked to juggle both. Then you will need to reflect कि अच्छा मैंने किस में अच्छा किया था. And if you have decent examples of you doing well with people, maybe your strength is you working well with people. So over index on working with people there. If your strength came out to be working alone, over index on working alone. And you will do better than in your life if you would have juggled or if you would have worked in a team environment. Okay, cool. And support of this was great many people who perform really well in a team are not able to take that risk when there is a pressure of you need to take the call. Okay, the project success or failure will depend on your call. Not not many of people are able to take that call. So these guys will be poor executives, but they will be very bold in decision and they will stick to it. So you need to understand that about yourself first. कि तुम क्या कर पाते हो. To answer that as of today, maybe we'll reflect on this form after 3 years. We'll create a system of feedback analysis for all of you guys and see what will happen after 3 years and how your answers shape up. But I hope everybody has answered. Cool. And this is very simple. And then more often than not, you would have seen in organization, people who were at number 2 position when they were pushed on number 1 spot, either organization fails or those people fails because of this primary state. Okay. Now, there's some easy questions for you to think about is, do you perform well under stress or you personally need a very highly structured and a predictable environment? Okay, this is an easy question, I guess, for all of you guys. Please switch to the form and answer that for yourself. I hope, यहाँ लिखा हुआ है. You need to answer, do you personally perform well under stress or you personally need a very highly structured and a predictable environment?
why do I
Muskan, you have a
always
question.
feel that it's mixed of both?
Where you do well? Where you do
Well,
well?
that time भी हो but environment भी अच्छा हो.
नहीं तो personally सोचो ना, that is why you need feedback analysis
Okay.
for years, for at least for 3 years. तो अभी के personal notion से इसको answer कर. Look back in last 6 months, see where you have delivered the most and let's say other people have appreciated the work most, and was that a very structured environment or was it a stressful in the sense कि you confidence होता है ना कि I'll figure it out and take it on myself and figure it out, and yes, there is work, but I'll figure it out. And you are lazy for, let's say, 80% of the time, and then you do the hard work in the last 20. Cool. Or you continuously able to add small delta value across the month. तो आपने पर्सनली कब अच्छा किया था वो रिफ्लेक्ट बैक करके आंसर करना है यहाँ पर. Cool. तो इसका classic example is why this is important is various people who have been part of large organization which are very well structured often fail when they come to a small organization which is not structured and vice versa. Correct. And people कहते हैं ना ये मुझे स्टार्टअप में काम करना है, जल्दी सीखना है, जो एक लोग बोलते हैं, people कहते हैं नहीं मुझे थोड़ा सा पेस चाहिए, I need pace because that is the underlying preference. People who predominantly work in startup are able to manage stress a little better versus people who are part of big organizations who prefer to be part of both of. Assume that you have offered from both of the organizations, same package, everything is same, everything is same. But now you need to decide कि startup में जाओगे या फिर बड़ी कंपनी में जाओगे. But if you don't know the answer of this question, you will fail. कि आपको लगता है ठीक है ट्राई कर लेते हैं, मैं स्टार्टअप में काम कर चुका हूँ, ट्राई कर लेते बड़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, मे बी यू विल नॉट डू वेल in the big organization because you personally perform well under stress, or you would have been conditioned. That can be true, but you personally prefer stressful situation versus a very predictable environment. That's why this question is important. Simple. Cool. Let's move ahead. Now this will become a little bit more philosophical. The talk will become more philosophical. You need to answer what are your values. अब आपको यहाँ चलना है. Before I let's deep dive further and let's give a couple of things. You need to answer two questions, I guess. तो नीचे हो गया शायद. हाँ. You need to answer what are your values, and you need to answer does your organization ethics resonates with your own values. These are the two questions that you need to answer. So currently, for next 2 minutes, you need to think about your own values. I can give you an example, a very primary example, which is very universal, which is discipline. Your personal value is I am disciplined, okay, and I prefer people who are disciplined. That can be your personal value. Okay, ये मुझे discipline चीजें पसंद है. But then you can see कि मुझे मेरी organization को discipline पसंद है कि नहीं. And then you need to think about कि जितनी मेरी values हैं, do they resonate in the sense कि the organization that I'm currently part of has almost very similar values that what do I hold as personal values or not. ये दोनों क्वेश्चन ये आंसर करेंगे. First answer, take a minute to answer what are your current values. Then take a minute to answer does your organization ethics resonate with your own values. Okay, it's 44. We'll wait till 46. Cool. It's 46. I hope everybody has answered. Let's deep dive. So why this question is important? I'll tell you why this question is important from personal experience of having something of this sort of conversation, and at the core, I realized the area of conflict for people who are, let's say, in a way part of my team, and they were not able to resonate with what I was expecting out of them or the organization was expecting out of them. Primary reason was the set of values that they held very close to their heart versus the set of values that the organization or I held personally close at my heart were different. And that it was a conflict of values. It was not conflict of hey ये नहीं हो रहा है वो नहीं हो रहा है ये नहीं हो रहा है ये नहीं हो रहा है ऐसे करो. It was at the core, and it prolonged for a decent time, and we had to, let's say, separate ways just because value system was not aligned. Cool. That is a key learning. And if we go about author's commentary, to be able to actually manage yourself, you need to be very sure about what are your ethicals and what are your values. And an author says that in order to do that, there is something very simple called as mirror test. Okay, and what is a mirror test? And there is a story about it. uh, in the early ages, in 1700s, I guess, all the great diplomats around the world used to come to all the great powers. Example, just currently the most powerful spot is, let's say, America's president. Okay, there was a time when that was the case for us. One of the powerful spot was German ambassador in London. UK was a very, let's say, strong country, and Germany was also, and the German guy had a very good influence in the यूके कंट्री बिकॉज बहुत क्लोज अलाय हैं, पिछला वॉर रह चुका है, नहीं लड़ना चाहते, ऑल दोस हिस्ट्री है ना. एंड देयर वाज दिस पर्सन हु वाज very destined to great good things, and he became his country's let's say foreign minister. But there was a case of when in 1906 he was he suddenly resigned. Okay, because he was asked to do host a dinner for king, the current king, यूके का किंग है, इसके लिए डिनर होस्ट करना है, कर दो, तुम्हारी बड़ा ये जॉब है, राइट. तुम्हारे एडवर्ड आपके पास आ रहा है, लेट्स से यूके से किंग आपके पास आ रहा है, आप एक फॉरेन मिनिस्टर है, और उसके लिए डिनर होस्ट करो, जो करना है करो, करेक्ट. बट ये बंदे ने बोला कि मुझसे नहीं हो पाएगा, and he resigned from a very high ranking post with decent amount of power. Reason: king asked him to do few things. King was a traditional or a notorious let's say womanizer, and then he wanted more from the dinner than what is usually expected. And the chancellor jo tha foreign minister, he simply said, I refuse to see a pimp in the mirror. That's it. In the morning when I shave tomorrow, I will not be able to see there was a pimp who did the job. That was a simple test, and this is very simply a mirror test. You should not be hating the person that you see in the mirror. Very simple. This is what ethics are for. This is what you need to ask yourself कि मेरे value system क्या है. This I will not deviate from this value no matter what. No amount of, let's say, monetary gain is worth this. And there can be cases where monetary gain can be your value system. Understand that also, and you will be okay. ठीक है, I'll optimize for value gain because my core value is optimize for money, no matter what. Cool. So it can be different, but you need to be very clear about it. Okay? And this is a classic mirror test, which is you need to ask yourself what is the person that you want to see in the mirror. That's it. The learning is like a person. Organization also have values and ethics. This is the part people miss, which is the part of organization that we were collectively, we hold together some values, and you would have seen, you see cultural values being pushed, and the people, kind of people, how they go about their job, those the ethics that they have, these are resonated continuously because these are communicated. These are the values that we honor. If you're very aligned towards it, very good. If you're not, maybe this is not the right organization. That is the message that people clearly give, correct? And this is the reason all businesses need short-term results, but they also need people who are there for long-term and produce long-term results. But in order to have that match at the core, you need to understand, does your, and if you want to be part of those long-term people anywhere, you need to understand, does the organization values resonates with my own value? Otherwise, you will simply be frustrated as a person, always be suboptimal. You'll never be classified as a star performer per se, and you'll not be able to produce results. See, that's why this is important. And knowing your own values, then understanding the place that you are working on, its values, and how much resonance that there is between those two. Fair enough? And when you do this, the next question that you need to ask is, where do you belong in life? As I said, this will become more and more philosophical, and you need to go back to the sheet. This is the question that you need to answer. And this is the second question I want you to answer. This is a part of it. When you answer this, where do you belong in? Where do you belong? Second, answer the second part is, do you look at your organization to plan your career? Which means, hey, if I'm part of an organization, it's organization's responsibility to plan my career and grow me. Okay, and that is the mental model that you have operated with. Okay, to answer these two questions first, is 10:52. We'll wait till 10:54. Somebody has a question. Acha, just wow. Okay. Take a couple of minutes. Please answer these two questions. Where do you belong? And do you look at your organization to plan your career? Yes.
where do I belong वाला क्वेश्चन है इसे एक बार दोबारा बताओ कि इसमें क्या लिखना होगा.
Is where do you belong? This ये तुम्हें बस सोचना है. तुम्हें क्या लगता है? Where do you belong in life? ये तो ये this is a thinking exercise. This is actually yes or no question, which is do you think तुम्हारी organization की जिम्मेदारी है तुम्हारा career plan करने की currently, and be honest about it. Okay. These are two questions that you need to answer yourself. Cool. I hope everybody has answered. Let's move ahead. So, why does author ask this philosopher question? Is you might have heard tennis prodigy, tennis or football prodigies, the famous people. They started at 4 years, 3 years, right? कि यार ये तो 4 साल से खेल रहा है. जो जोकोविक 4 साल की उम्र से खेल रहा है. मेसी 3 साल की उम्र से खेल रहा है. Correct? And you would have heard those, correct? But same is also true for natural musicians, जो music में बहुत अच्छे होते हैं बच्चे. And same is also true for mathematicians. We, if you reflect back, we all love rock stars and sports stars, correct? Reason being, in some shape and form, so we admire them from the primary reason being, these are the person who are able to follow their dreams, correct? That is the underlying thing that we have. But they are able to do that because they know where do they belong, and they want to be belong in life. Mathematician, musician, जो purest job होती हैं, and even people who are natural at, let's say something as uh, let's say something as let's say cooking food, they know that is what they want to belong, and they over index on their strength or वो particular skills, and they usually start very soon. Some traditional things like being a software engineer or being a CA, be a doctor, ये जो होता है, or you being a physician, ये evolve थोड़ा late होता है. When we get exposed to the broader world, we learn from the schools, we try to give various exams, then we learn कि हाँ ये भाई ये करना होगा. Then that is the inflection point that we have to take. CA लेनी है, commerce लेनी है, maths लेनी है, or that is where you are forced to decide कि हाँ where do you belong. Correct? And these are all, and very few people 10वीं 12वीं में ही से पहले 10 या 12 साल की उम्र में डिसाइड कर लेते मुझे यही करना है. Very few people. And most of us, I am assuming all of us in this call actually decided where do they actually belong in their life after they hit 20. Okay, we would have all have done a better job per se, from wherever we have landed, if three simple questions we would have ourselves, the earlier the better. First, what are my strengths? If we would have identified our strength, how do we perform well? What is the environment that I perform well? What are my values? If we knew these answers earlier of this simple fundamental question earlier, or as of today, you would be able to say this is where I belong in life. Example, author gives a couple of examples to make it relatable. A person knows that he's not able to decide things. Okay, so he'll say no to a decision making assignment. A person knows he's not able to work very well in a structured environment. He'll say no to a very high paying big company job, because he knows where does he belong based upon his strength, his value system, and he knows how he performs well. So successful career, the author says, successful careers are actually not planned. They are based upon a person actually knowing these three fundamental questions and navigating the world. And just by answering these three questions that you guys have already asked, and if and I suggest we all do feedback analysis, and to zero in these are the values, these are my strength, and this is how I perform. Once you know this, you will transform yourself from, let's say, somebody, let's say, who's doing decent, to a highly competent person, and simply outperforming everybody else. Cool. That is a takeaway. That is why you need to answer all the first questions, so that you can answer where do you actually belong in life. Cool. Again, a philosophical question for all of you to answer. What can you, in this case, what can I contribute? So please go back to your form and just answer the last. And as you have seen, this is the last question that you need to answer. It's 11:59. We'll wait for a minute.
Anupam, there are two questions, similar
questions.
questions. What can I contribute and what can you contribute in the form?
I मतलब वो मैंने copy paste में गलती हो गई. What can I contribute? Just answer this one. I'll delete the last one. What can I contribute? I deleted the question, refreshed it. There is one question. What can I contribute? Just answer that.
But contribute to whom? मतलब as in society.
तो जो भी तुम्हारे दिमाग में आ रहा है, just answer. If you're not able to answer it, just write whatever is coming to your mind.
Okay.
Whatever is coming to your mind, whatever you are able to interpret from this question. If you're not able to answer it, just write whatever you are able to interpret. Cool. It's time. So a little bit of history by author. He says throughout history, people just didn't ask this question whenever they were given a job. They will simply go along and do what was told. Okay. We started with people having big factories, predominantly human labor, and everybody was doing what was told. Okay. And in late 50s or 60s, the environment changed. Capitalism started to boom, and people started to plan their careers per se. Okay. And they asked their companies or the departments to plan their career कि 3 साल बिताएगा तो ये करेगा, 6 साल बिताएगा तो यहाँ पर ले जाएंगे. That is what how people have went about it. But later to that, people do begin to ask this question. And what do I want to do? They ask themselves the question first, and then they ask the same: what should I contribute on, let's say, on the current project to whoever they were working with. And people who actually did that, they actually would lead to, let's say, self fulfillment चाहता था कि this is ये मैं करना चाहता हूँ, और कंट्रीब्यूशन से लीड करना चाहता हूँ, और थोड़ी सी सक्सेस चाहता हूँ. ये एट द रूट होता था. दिस इज व्हाई दे पीपल स्टार्टेड टू आस्क. बट इन ऑर्डर टू एक्चुअली आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन, टू सिंपली आस्क कि जब भी आप सबको प्रोजेक्ट्स मिलते हैं, राइट, इन योर डे टू डे लाइफ सबको मिलता है, हम सब प्रोजेक्ट पे काम करते हैं, एंड हम मोस्ट ऑफ नॉट ये भूल जाता है कि व्हाट शुड माय कंट्रीब्यूशन बी. एंड दिस इज इन अ वे ट्राइंग टू आस्क व्हाट इज द एक्सपेक्टेशन आल्सो और also optimizing for let's say क्या मैं value add कैसे कर सकता हूँ. In order to do that, you need to answer 3 questions first. One, what Muskan pointed out, what does the situation requires. Example, if something is breaking on production, on call का contribution क्या होता है? On call का contribution होता है, if you are not able to solve this immediately, call the immediate person who can. And if you are not able to find it, raise an alarm. Correct? That is how we contribute to the current problem. तो ये हम एक्सपेक्टेशन सेटिंग में क्लियर करते हैं. इफ यूर ऑन कॉल ये करना पड़ेगा, करेक्ट, ताकि आपको कंट्रीब्यूशन आपको क्लियर हो. इमेजिन करो एक SD1 आता है कॉलेज से उठा के, और हम सिंपली उसको ऑन कॉल पर डाल देते हैं, और वो ये पूछता ही नहीं है कि यार व्हाट शुड आई कंट्रीब्यूट, मतलब मैं वैल्यू ऐड कैसे क्रिएट करूंगा. ही इज बाउंड टू फेल. करेक्ट. The first is question is what does the situation requires. Example, let's say you are leading you are suddenly asked to lead a group of 22 people. Correct. That is the situation which is given to you immediately. जैसे मुस्कान, that was given to you, and you would say कि ठीक है मैं तो 2 लोगों के साथ काम किया, 22 के साथ नहीं किया, I don't know. First you need to ask what does the situation requires, and then you need to zero in on what were your strengths, how do you work, and what are your values. And then you need to ask yourself कि how do I make the greatest contribution कि जो चीज करनी है उसमें. And at the core, what you see reiterates focus on outcome. कि what are the results that we will be able to achieve after doing all this. So these are the subset of questions that you need to ask yourself before taking any difficult biggest to biggest project, simplest to simplest project. Simplest project can be a test case लिखना. Correct. So what should I contribute? I need to contribute to take the service up. What is the make the greatest contribution? Take it to 95. But does that add value? Doesn't. Make it 80 only. And what is the final result? Ki service platinum hit kar degi. This is how you should go about every single thing that you do. Okay. So after all this philosophy and let's say the questions, the gist is if you would ask me, because Aman will, I know कि अगले 1.5 साल में मुझे क्या चेंज करना है, अगले 2 साल में मुझे क्या चेंज करना है लाइफ में, है ना. तो बहुत चीजें अपने को बैलेंस करनी पड़ेंगी. पीपल बोलते हैं आप हमेशा स्ट्रेच होना चाहिए. दिस इज द कॉमन वर्ड दैट यू वुड सी इन योर ओन पीयर्स आल्सो. करेक्ट. यू नीड टू स्ट्रेच. करेक्ट. स्ट्रेच से मतलब ये होता है कि यस द रिजल्ट जो भी अचीव करना है 1.5 साल में आपके लिमिट में होना चाहिए, बट कंफर्टेबल नहीं होना चाहिए. If you're for next 1.5 or 2 years you're doing things which you are comfortable with, you're not stretching. So while you ask your question how do you contribute, also ask are you stretching or not with every single thing you do. Cool. थोड़ा सा और है इसमें मैं समराइज कर देता हूँ. इसमें कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं आंसर करना है आपको. this is in order to understand when you're part of an organization, you need to learn how to responsibly handle all the relationships. First you need to understand जैसे आप individual हैं, everybody else is also an individual. They also have their strength, they also have their how do they operate, and they also have their value system. Correct. The 3 things that you have, and in order to operate with them very well and manage them, you need to anyway gauge these 3 also. And when you are able to do that, you need to take responsibility of the communication. Example, सबका किसी का value system is, as I said earlier, easy one is discipline. You need somebody is very disciplined. Then you need to realize कि अच्छा ठीक है, if I am working under this person, best form of action will be communicating, let's say time to time. Very not missing on communication. Okay? This will avoid, because if you do that, if you remember, your value system and his or her value system will collide. Right? And when that happen, तुम जैसे ऑपरेट करते हो उसको वो जैसे ऑपरेट करता है will be different. Why will that happen? Because तुम्हारी जो स्ट्रेंथ है उसकी जो स्ट्रेंथ है वो अलग अलग होगी. Cool. So this is how you should go about operating in your organization. And with that, it's a wrap of the session. I hope everybody has answered all the questions. let's just take a minute to see कि आपने सारे क्वेश्चन आंसर कर दिए आप सबने एज अ पर्सनल लेवल पे? yes or no में, yes or no में बता दीजिए.
Yes,
if yes
yes,
please
yes.
if yes please submit कर दीजिए. I hope everybody has done that. Now, I'll just take next 2 minutes for questions. Any questions or any comment from anybody?
I do.
हाँ पूछिए.
So there was one point where it was
Anupam,
हाँ एक बार let's Resham complete, then Pranav आपके पास आता है.
yeah.
So at one point we discussed कि किसी ने पहले क्वेश्चन पूछे होते हैं what my strengths are, if I perform better under stress, or if I am better as a loner or in a team. I feel that's a bit contradictory because unless we have actually gone through some of those experiences, there's no way to know the right answer to each of those questions.
That's why, na. That's why people who are able to do that, and there who are people who are in the fundamental things, they know that their strength is, let's say, playing tennis well, something like that.
Yeah.
They over-index on it because they know the strength. तो पहले से उनको पता होता है पर्सनल लेवल पे, and they don't need anybody's validation. That's why most of us, I hope everybody in this call have gone through the journey that you're suggesting, Resham, actually. So and that's why it's earlier the better.
At least in our domain, in our industry, I feel it's very difficult to know in college or in school time itself. At least I wouldn't know if I go back 10 years in my career.
That is true. That is true. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that. That is the case for more than 95, not 99.99%. We navigate through life. What I'm asking all of us to do is ask this question to yourself as of today, know your personal answers, and navigate rest of your life according to that. By understanding what are your strengths, by understanding what, let's say, how do you personally operate, and by understanding what is your value system. Cool. And if you're able to do that, earlier the better. It's simply as compounding. It's simply compound. Earlier the better. Something, I'll give you an example of a value conflict. And for a person that I didn't like earlier, then I learned to appreciate, which is Djokovic. Djokovic didn't get any vaccine, and he was okay, and he was the maximum Grand Slam winner for Australia Open. He had 9, and he could have gotten a 10th one, but he was deported, and he was okay because according to his value system, he didn't want anybody to push anything in his body. I'll decide what goes in my body. Right? So he didn't get any COVID vaccine. Australia's mandate was everybody needs to be vaccinated, and only people who are vaccinated will get entry in the tournament. And he was okay. He has no regret because there was no gap in his value system. According to his value system, okay, even though I have done really well in Australia, but if they are not allowing because they are asking me to, let's say, get a vaccine and that doesn't align towards the value system that I have, it's okay. It's okay. Somebody gets ahead with me, it's okay. Okay. That is, and that is how he in a way navigated. If it was not according to his value system, he could have lied. It was very easy for him to get a PDF. You all know that, correct? It's just a matter of getting a PDF. And and if we can do that, he all obviously has resources to get it done. But he didn't because उसे पता था अगर वो ऑस्ट्रेलियन ओपन कर रहा होता बाद में पता चलता तो ही कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आता है वैल्यू सिस्टम ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलिया ओपन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड हिज कॉलेज सिस्टम सारा फिर देन दिक्कत होती है परमानेंट बैन के लेवल पे होती है करेक्ट. So that is how we learn to navigate his life. That is what we am communicating. The earlier we know this, Risha, let's say we sat down today and tried to index on it. If we let's say take this day as the starting day, we'll be able to do a better job in our rest of our life if we answer this question and stay true to them. And in order to identify nothing special, you need to do feedback analysis every single year. If you don't do it, you will not know simple answers to what are your strengths, what are your values, and how do you operate. If you don't know those, your life would be always be decided by people who are not you. People will plan careers for you. You will not. That is what the underlying message here is. But what you are suggesting, actually, those people are very, very, very rare who are able to see their future. Where do they belong at the age of 4, at the age of 5? Serena Williams was such. She was very young. Her sister was, her elder sister was even better than her, but she knew she wanted to not only be better than her sister, knew she wanted to do very, very well in her life in tennis only. Okay, and those people are rare. That's why we admire them. That's why we admire them. Cool. Pranav, questions by you?
I guess your conversation has already answered the question.
Okay. Anybody else has any question? No? Okay. I guess with that, it's a wrap. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.